That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Gran Turismo, the fifth film directed by Neill Blomkamp, which is being released in select theaters in like a preview rollout on 8/11, but will expand nationwide August 25th, 2023, courtesy of Sony Columbia Pictures.
I know Neill Blomkamp did a movie with Sigourney Weaver.
He sure did. It was called Chappie in 2015.
And District 9.
District 9 was his debut, which I believe netted a Best Picture nod. That was a huge film out the gate for him. He followed that up with Elysium, starring Matt Damon and Jodie Foster, which I know you've also seen. And then Chappie. And then we reviewed his last film, which was a pandemic movie, Demonic, which I loathed. And then notably, he had plans to bring Sigourney Weaver back to the Alien franchise in 2017. But that all fell through. Thanks, Ridley Scott.
This movie is based on a true story about this guy named Jann Mardenborough.
Jann
Mardenborough. He played the Gran Turismo video game, and he was basically plucked by Nissan for like this, I guess like a PR stunt to have these video gamers drive actual race cars. And ultimately he does become a professional race car driver. There are some hurdles along the way. Obviously the people who are part of the sport didn't think that these people who they called sim drivers were like valid. When you were telling me the story, it felt very much like on Drag Race when queens come in who have only been doing drag for like 6 months.
Yes.
And the more seasoned queens are haters.
Basically. But you can understand why there's some trepidation and some reservations beyond the usual kind of animosity from the old guard.
Well, because sort of a climax is that at a point, Jann is driving like a real car and gets into an accident, which is not his fault, but it results in a spectator being killed. So the other drivers use that as ammunition to say, see, this is why these people should not be allowed to drive. And so the Nissan person, played by Orlando Bloom,
Danny Moore, yeah.
He says the only way to really rectify this is that one of you people, one of these sim drivers, you need to place in the Le Mans
with a team of sim car drivers. So far we'd focused up to Jann, who won the contest that Nissan put forth. And so to get over this PR nightmare due to the death of that spectator, Orlando Bloom says we need to have a team of 3 at Le Mans, which is a 24-hour, the biggest race car driving race in the world, which seems really stressful to me.
He tells them they have to place like on the podium, and
Yes.
they do. They come in 3rd place, barely.
Yes. It's my understanding, so I don't know a lot about this world firsthand or have innately any kind of interest in it. In fact, I was walking into this, I felt about as excited as that Ron Howard movie Rush about Niki Lauda. And or Days of Thunder or Ford versus Ferrari. Those are all kind of high profile racing films that I didn't necessarily love. But I will say that this is a high anxiety film.
David Harbour plays the trainer assigned to Jann.
The race engineer, yeah, who used to be a driver himself and of course quit at the height of his glory, and we come to find out why.
Djimon, Hounsou plays Jann's dad, and then Ginger Spice plays...
I think it's Djimon Hounsou, because you got clocked for making...
Oh, I did. I didn't remember.
Yeah.
And then Ginger Spice plays his mom?
Yes, Jerry.
How is she?
Fine.
Oh.
I don't know that they make the most interesting couple, and it took me a couple scenes to realize that that's her. The screenwriters, Jason Hall of American Sniper and Zach Baylin of King Richard, I guess they just have developed this formula of collapsing all kinds of facts and figures into this kind of scenario. But there's some corny dialogue, especially with the family.
Did you like this movie?
I liked it better than I was expecting to. Kind of like David Harbour tells Jann, good news, low expectations. That's kind of how I felt. It's almost like a reverse Russian doll thing of like, it's just a bunch of races, and those are well done. It was shot by Jacques Jouffret, who did the first 3 Purge films and for some reason a bunch of Mark Wahlberg movies. But you get a lot of these swooping, long aerial shots of this whole racetrack that does assist in punching the energy up. And again, it does a good job of building the tension and anxiety of these races. And what this film does well is it makes you root for Jann, even though I also understand that he wasn't the first sim driver yank to do this kind of thing. So I'm not sure to what extent liberties were taken in this script or from Mr. Blomkamp, but I think overall it gets the point across and it is effective enough.
Do you have a pull quote?
No.
What else do you want to say?
The creator of Gran Turismo is actually the first figure we see, Kazumura Yamauchi, played by Takahiro Hira, and he is a producer on this film.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of feels like that it's also trying to feel like it is an actual Gran Turismo video game as well. I did think it was interesting that Jann, to kind of get in the zone, listens to Kenny G and Enya.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And he's from Wales. And another interesting soundtrack selection, Public Enemy's Harder Than You Think, is sampled, which I think is funny because it's the second David Harbour movie I know of after End of Watch.
We are celebrating 50 years of hip hop, so I guess
we are. They don't use enough of that song, and I really do like that song. But yeah, and then all of the scenes with, as I said, Ginger Spice and Djimon Hounsou are really corny because Jann is not really respected by his family. His younger brother seems to excel as he plays rugby or something in school, and Djimon just thinks that his son is wasting his time, and he didn't realize that there's these emotional, heart-wrenching scenes in between all this other melodrama. And it's a 2-hour and 15-minute-ish film, and it clips along well enough, but I don't know. Oh, and then we didn't mention the one playing Jann is Archie Madekwe, who I think also does a really good job. It's really his film with David Harbour's, and I think they share a nice emotional connection, even though this script is highly predictable.
What would you give this movie?
2.5.
Anything else?
No.
2.5 out of 5. Mm-hmm. Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.